She's a conservative and I'm liberal, and yet we've been friends for almost 40 years. Everyone says you shouldn't discuss politics, religion, or money. And we say that's exactly what friends should be talking about. Join us as we tackle the conversations you're having in your head, but are too scared to say out loud. Welcome to We've Got to Talk.
This is a good one.
Yeah,
here we go.
We're getting right into it. We are talking about the Iran conflict, or Iran conflict. And just for context, it is Thursday, March 5th at 5:27 p.m. Eastern, and this will be airing March 11th. The amount of information moment to moment has been just so completely overwhelming. And so we're going to start get into it with Jolene's 3 hot takes, my 3 hot takes, and then we will go.
It's a conflict. I don't know as a Republican if I can call it a war, because that's a whole nother thing going on here. It is a conflict that's been going on for 5 days as of today. So what we have to say today may be completely out of date in 5 more days. So here we go. Number 1, I'm glad we did it. I think we needed to take action against a regime that was trying to negotiate their way out of their nuclear weapons or their nuclear capabilities. And I think that we were on the brink of them either having one or developing one. I think that we were real close. And I think you had a tyrannical leader in the Ayatollah that, I mean, if he was willing to gun down tens of thousands of his own people in his own land during the protests in January, what's a guy like that going to do with nukes? I think that is the reason for us to do that, and we can get into that. Number 2, however, I do think that we need to get out. I know I need this to be a short-term war, and I would think the Republicans, I know that we've got Republicans that are split on this right now. I think nobody, Republican, Democrat, anyone in the world wants to see a prolonged Middle Eastern conflict. Nobody wants to see Afghanistan. Nobody wants to see Iraq again. I think we have strategically done what we've needed to do in terms of debilitating their armed forces, their navy. Speaking of Iran's, and hopefully any nuclear capabilities that they've already developed. But now we need to leave it to their people. I think if that, the third thing for me is if that means helping the security forces, again, as of this afternoon, I think there's evidence that we have helped the Kurds in arming them and helping them take over Iran, or we've helped the security forces, the police, and the people that were in charge of handling the demonstrations in January. We've seen reports of some of them that are maybe defecting out of the police force and in the areas of Iran that maybe they're going to side now with the protesters. And that we need to let that happen. What are you thinking?
Okay, my number 1, we can dispute why we got into this war, but I think that's a waste of time because we're here. And we can call it a war, we can call it a conflict. There's a lot of debate back and forth about that, but we are there. There's one thing that I want to point out in my number 1 hot take is that allies matter. And that one thing that I thought was interesting is that you have Iran using these very inexpensive drones that then the United States are using $1 million Patriot missiles to shoot down. And so it turns out that Ukraine in the last 4 years has developed really great technology, making deflectors inexpensive, and they are now saying to the United States, we will help you. So that's an interesting hot take that I want to point out. Number 2, this war or / conflict started as a joint effort between the Israel and the United States trying to dominate Iran when it was at its weakest. And I think that Trump was emboldened after the Maduro situation and thinking that he sort of had the secret sauce and he could do it again, and that this was the time to do it. The thing that I find unsettling is that he said very quickly, quote, all the people we thought that would take over are dead, unquote. I find that unsettling that there doesn't seem at this point to be a real long-term plan. It was more like, oh, this Maduro thing worked. This is the time. And we can talk about the history. I've done a lot of research on how this happened, and I'm sure that you have as well. Number 3, and this is similar to one of your hot takes. I wish that this was about the 30,000 Iranian protesters who lost their lives standing up for freedom against this tyrannical 47-year regime. But I don't think it is. And even though it wavers, it's about 12 to 20% of Iranians back the supreme leader. And that's not very much, but they are religious fanatics and they have the weapons. And they have nothing to lose. In the name of God, they will stop at nothing to keep their power and to oppress their people. And that I find a really difficult situation for us to be in. And how do we get out? Like, you want it quickly. How do we get out? You know, I've learned about this Pottery Barn. If you break it, you buy it. And now the Trump administration and others in, like Lindsey Graham has mentioned it as well, that they're like, nah, it's not our problem. And I'm thinking, oof. I'm just going to speak for myself. As a liberal Democrat, what I've really appreciated doing this podcast with you and learning how people, how the media, especially the legacy media, who tends to be biased on the left and the right, spew, just pump out this information of what the left thinks and then what the right thinks. And I will say, having delved in deep for the last 5 days, I've never understood when tens of thousands of Iranians were dying, were being mowed down in the streets, and Trump had said, we're going to come help you, and then didn't. Now, I now understand why. I understand that January 14th, Bibi called Trump and said, I need you to wait. We're not ready. Because they had been talking about going into Iran in December. Like, this has been a long, so far, like a planned event. But I am looking at all these tens of thousands of people who are being slaughtered. And how is that okay? And where are the protesters in the United States? Like, we protest about Gaza. We protest about the Palestinians who, again, I don't believe they should have been slaughtered. I don't believe the Jews should have been slaughtered. I don't believe in slaughter. But here we are. And so there is part of me that thinks, wouldn't this be amazing if what Trump did actually changed the world order in a positive way? Actually, that the Middle East could be a place of prosperity and creativity. And wouldn't that be incredible? Wouldn't it be an amazing world that we live in, that we are not afraid of that part of the world? And so I also find it really interesting that liberals are going, why are we doing this? And I'm thinking, I thought you cared about human beings.
Right.
So that part, Jolene, I'm not in disagreement with you.
And it's interesting because there's also Republicans who are also saying the opposite, going, nope, we shouldn't have gotten involved. We shouldn't have done anything. We don't want Iraq again. We don't want Afghanistan again. And you're like, but I mean, Trump drew a red line and he said, okay, if you slaughter, tens of thousands of your own people, you're going to regret that. And sure enough, he did. Now, maybe it wasn't the week after it happened, but I do think that at least it wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. It was a coordinated plan, like you said, between us and Israel.
The Israeli intelligence, they had been working on Tehran intelligence for years. They had a system in their traffic light grid that they said that they knew the streets of Tehran the way they know the streets of Jerusalem. And Bibi called Trump in December and said, we would like to strike Iran. We would like your blessing. And we want to do it between April and June of 2026. And Trump said, okay. And then in January, the uprising happened. And Trump said what he wanted, what he said, we will come in. It's not okay for the tens of thousands of people to be slaughtered. And Bibi called January 14th and said, I need you to wait. We aren't ready. We need to be ready. And so Trump said, okay.
Where is this coming from? I haven't heard that there was this meeting that Netanyahu said he wanted to do it between April and June.
I've heard it from New York Times, Mo News, Tangle. There's an amazing, I'm going to put it in the show notes, and I sent it to you, and I'm sure you didn't have a chance to listen to it.
I didn't, no.
The Diary of a CEO, oh my gosh, everybody, I'll put it in the show notes. It's long. Ex-CIA spy Andrew Bustamante, national security journalist Annie Jacobson, and Iran expert Benjamin Rad. And it is such an incredible education on the history of this region, which, you can't learn in your little Instagram clip that we all are getting our news from. And there was a lot of fiery discussion, but respectful. Which I found really exciting. And then one of the things they said at the very end was like, what are the tips you can give to people? And they said, one of the guests, I think it was Benjamin, said, be curious. Be curious. And I thought, here we are. I mean, the ex-CIA guy had a very dark picture of what could happen. And there were times in the podcast that I found my heart racing, getting very scared. Being a New Yorker, when these things like this happen and you live in big cities, we're the first to get hit. It's very easy to get caught up in that. And it's also easy. I was listening to Tangle today and their take, and also easy as Americans, as people from thousands of miles away from the actual physical conflict. Yeah. It's very easy to just go on with our lives, or, as Hegseth, which made me quite angry, said tragic things happen instead of honoring those 6 soldiers that have already died. It's very easy to sort of not understand, like, we are affecting tens of millions of people. I want the people to be able to decide who their leader is. The Iranian people. Okay. I think one thing, Jolene, that you said about the Kurds, that I just listened to Mo News, they were explaining how that woman that that was being interviewed
on the live,
on the live thread. I didn't catch her name, but she's an Iranian specialist. But she was talking about that a lot of people on the ground are very worried about that because it's a very diverse country, and when you start putting sects of people against each other, that it creates civil war. She had a source on the ground that was someone that didn't want the bombings to happen, that said that the regime was going to crumble. As we know, the economic status is so horrific that people were starting to defect. In these times of war, the more extreme can solidify too.
Okay, what didn't you take away from, and I didn't listen to her for very long, but I think one of the things that I've learned over the last 5 days about this conflict is that Iran is so diverse that the one thing that actually brings them together is the fact that, this was the January uprising, and these protests that happened in January were so significant that it wasn't just in certain cities, and it wasn't in just the big cities. It was, you and I talked about this on a prior podcast. It was so many different walks of life that were all coming together to protest, that this is an opportunity. And I think Trump said that in his address right after the initial strikes. He said, we're going to help you. We're going to do our part. And what I think that means is that we're going to take out the military. We're going to destroy the nuclear capabilities. You've got to do it yourself now. And I think as an American, I love that idea. Let's give the help where we need. Let's not put boots on the ground. Let's not, say that we're going to help in a rebuilding, way. So my question is to you: are you happy with the progress that we have made, or with the events? I can't even say progress. Are you happy with the events that have happened so far?
Happy is not the word. I'm trying to stay present about it. one thing that people have been so upset on the left is, why didn't they consult Congress? One thing that I did know in my research is that the Israeli intelligence notified Trump the Monday before, and the next day was the State of the Union. And hours before the State of the Union, he did speak with the Gang of Eight, and that's not reported very much.
Wait, so let's stop and let's make sure that the listener knows the Gang of Eight are the eight two senators,
top Republicans and Democrats in the Congress.
From each Senate and the House. So that's
right.
The four from each side. And I think it was, I don't know if Rubio was the one that initiated that, but that Rubio notified the Gang of Eight 48 hours prior to striking, which is part of the War Powers Resolution that we have implemented. Yes, that we've implemented since Vietnam, so that that there is some accountability. To your point, I think there are people that are mad that Congress wasn't consulted, but as you and I have talked about as well, I think if you were to have told someone like Jasmine Crockett that this was going to happen, I mean, how do you take away the spontaneity of war and assure some success because you're being spontaneous and it's a secretive mission if you've got people that you have shared it with and then at the risk of them letting the cat out of the bag?
I mean, I think the point is that because of the War Powers Resolution of 1973, he did legally what he was allowed to do. Whether the left likes it or not, that is the deal. And he let the Gang of Eight know, and within 48 hours, he let Congress know, and he has 60 days to do this. After 60 days, Congress has to approve it.
Yeah.
So
right.
I think we are now in a place now that get so caught in the weeds of like, this is the right way and that's the right way. And the bottom line is here we are. We are in a very heated conflict. We are bombing shelters. They are attacking us. They are attacking other UAE countries, which is astounding to me. Am I happy with it? No.
Okay, so take happy out. Do you think this was a good move for us?
I don't know. I understand with the intelligence that they had, I understand why they did it. In the past, and I think I heard this on the Diary of a CEO, that action that happened on Saturday in previous administrations would have been a covert operation. And because Trump is Trump, it's all fanfare all the time.
But how can it not? I mean, in this day and age with everyone with a cell phone, how could you bomb that many targets? I mean, we're at 5 days and over 2,000.
Joe, I'm just
targets.
I'm just talking about that Saturday when they took out the Supreme Leader and his leaders. This is the thing. This is where that maybe I'm different than other liberals. Like, this guy Khamenei was such a bad guy.
Yeah.
There's no words for how bad this person was, this regime that took over Khomeini. Now I've learned that it's Khomeini and Khamenei. And they were evil. They are horrible, horrible people. One thing that I learned from this Susanna interview, the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, they're the bad guys. And in January, they used special bullets so that they could kill more than one people per bullet. And if the family members wanted their family, their child, their parent, whoever was dead, wanted to claim that family member's body, they had to pay the guard with the bullet.
Like the bullet that was taken out of their loved one's body had to give it back to the Iranian.
They had to pay to get the body back.
Oh, God.
How do you feel? I mean, I know you just said that you feel good.
I thought we had to.
I mean,
I know I don't feel good. No, war is never good. You never want war. You never want conflict. You don't want to see people die.
And the Iranians are
Americans, dying. Yes, and the 6 Americans that have lost their lives
So far.
4 of them were from Iowa.
I saw
from
that.
the Iowa Guard. Yeah.
I saw
So
that.
obviously they gave the ultimate sacrifice for us. No one likes war, but what were the consequences if we didn't? If Iran had a nuclear weapon, it changes the landscape not of just the Middle East, because then if Iran's got a nuclear weapon, then Saudi Arabia is going to have a nuclear weapon, which then, is Iraq. I mean, at that point, if someone as again, we keep using the word tyrannical, someone is tyrannical as the Ayatollah of Iran has a nuclear weapon, you don't think that then that proliferates the whole nuclear landscape of the Middle East, but of the world, and especially as Iran is supporting Hezbollah and Hamas and, all of these other little, all of the other, little subcategories of the Islamic regime that are a threat to, we saw this in Afghanistan. I mean, heck, we may see sleeper cells in the United States. We needed to do something. And as you said earlier, if this is a success, and if success means that we've taken down the Islamic Revolution, that Iran can finally put in a government
the guard
for themselves.
Yep.
Then this is a success for the entire world.
Yes, I agree that I feel like the people need to decide who they want to lead them. One thing in that Mo News interview that I just heard was that in the last 100 years, there's been 2 shahs and 2 supreme leaders. All are people with crowns. They have never experienced democracy. So to go in and say, it's, for us, and we're a pretty young country, but 250 years, we've created this democracy that most of the time works. But we could say, it's easier for us to say, you figure it out. Well, we've been working on it for 250 years. They've never done it. They don't know what that means. I mean, the interesting thing about Iran is that it's incredibly educated, incredibly creative, filled with scientists and artists and musicians. And the way the propaganda is, we have been taught that Iran is this like evil empire.
Because it has been for the last 47 years.
But it's the leaders, it's not the people, right?
But the people have been harnessed into this where they can't be expressive. I mean, women have not been able to be, and gays and lesbians,
absolutely.
and all of those people have been so repressed.
Well, they've been executed. There's been hangings. I mean, it's been awful, obviously. But there's a small segment of people that believe in the supreme leader, in the Ayatollah. It wavers between 12% and 20%. The rest of the people have had to succumb to them to stay alive, quite frankly. Now what? I don't want a puppet. I don't want a United States puppet to go in there. That's never worked. I really am concerned about, I think as you are too, boots on the ground, trying to keep it together. But I don't believe that we just go blow shit up and leave.
Right.
Because one thing that Trump said, he's like, we might have a leader that's worse. And I'm thinking,
well, and they've already named somebody, right? I mean, this guy, his father was a hardliner, so they're assuming he's going to be a hardliner.
Well, and they've also said that they've targeted him for assassination.
But don't you also feel like, again, going back to the intelligence that I feel like the Israeli military has established is, as you said earlier, that they've infiltrated the traffic cameras and all that of Iran for years. So to think that this was a very focused, a very strategic move on Israel's part, and I think the CIA, I think there have been some people from CIA who have said, we've known a lot of stuff that's going on because we have people who have infiltrated their government as well. And we talked about this in our last podcast when we talked about Iran, that the amount of satellite phones that have gotten into the hands of the people because Iran has shut off the internet, as an entire country has shut up because they didn't want, their people to hear from what the rest of the world was saying and what was happening. And so I have got to think that this wasn't a haphazard effort on either Israel's part or United States' part, that there are things in place. And whether that's, again, I don't know that we're funding the Kurds. I don't know if we're giving them weapons and all that to help them become in power, or if that's even something that we want. I'm hearing that there's even so many different facets of the Kurds that maybe that's not what we want. But regardless, I would hope that we have given the tools to the people that can make a difference and that they're going to be able to help themselves. Would you agree?
One thing that I do know that is not nothing is that Iran has been threatening death to America since the first Ayatollah came into power. And there have been assassination attempts that didn't happen to Trump. I read about several instances, and that was not nothing to President Trump, that rattled him. I don't know if he would admit that rattled him, but that was something that was definitely a part of this decision to go in and take out the Ayatollah or the supreme leader. You know, I saw something yesterday that I found super disturbing about a Montana senator yelling at a Marine, and the Marine saying,
"Oh my gosh.
Did you see that horrible
Yes.
clip? Like, we don't want to fight for Israel." And it gets, this whole thing gets really ugly about Israel and how it's no news if there's no Jews. Have you ever heard that?
I've never heard that.
Yep. I heard that from my family. And that's a real thing.
It's no news
if there's no
if
Jews.
there's no Jews.
They blame a lot on the Jews. And as we talked about it a long time ago in one of our episodes about Israel and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, that, you know, before Hamas attacked on October 7th, the Middle East was in a pretty peaceful place. And a lot of the countries like Saudi Arabia and Jordan and everybody was sort of getting along with Israel. Well, Hamas's ethos is to kill all Jews and death to Israel. And so it was like, nobody can get along here. And so they go in and rape and kill and kidnap thousands of people. And we literally are horrified for about a day. And then it's, oh my God, the Palestinians. I don't believe that the Palestinians should have been slaughtered either. But there was no real sense. It was just like those poor Palestinians when the Hamas were infiltrating in the Hamas don't care about the Palestinians. The Hamas care about, like, you know, killing as many Jews as possible.
Death to Israel.
And
yes.
Death to Israel, death to America, death. If you're kidding yourself if you think that Hamas gives a shit about Palestinians. They barricaded themselves in hospitals. They barricaded themselves in schools. But what were the college kids doing? They were rallying against the Jews. It was insane. And I feel like it's happening again. There are tens of thousands of Iranians that were slaughtered because they were standing up for their rights for freedom. Isn't that what America is supposed to be about? Where were you, college kids? Nowhere.
And at the awards shows, the Hollywood award shows, did anybody? No, they were all ICE. They were all talking about ICE, but no one said anything about the
Iran.
Thousands, the tens of thousands of people that were mowed down by the people by their own government in their own streets.
Exactly. This is an Instagram person that I think people should follow. It's HEMAD.NAZARI, and he is a photographer in Iran, and he has been so courageous and been filming during the uprising in January, and he recently sent a post that he was really furious that people are all up in arms that the school was bombed, and he wasn't saying that it was great that the girls were killed, but he said, "You don't understand what life is like here. The shelters are built next to the schools on purpose. And where were you when we were being slaughtered by the tens of thousands? Where were you?" And you just see an Instagram clip and you decide that you understand the history of Iran. It is so dense, Jolene, don't you think? I mean, trying to wrap our brains around this conflict and what they want and who they are. And we were both alive. I remember the hostages being taken. I remember Jimmy Carter trying to get the hostages out. And every night in the evening news, you'd see day 342. Right?
Yep.
And I also growing up in the Bay Area, in the San Francisco Bay Area, there was tons of Iranians, Persians that had escaped 79, and they were living among us. And my brother's best friend, Maz Jabrani, he's an amazing comedian. Shout out, Maz. I learned about Iran. I learned about Persia. I learned about the persecution as a child, but I still don't understand. This shit's hard, Jolene.
I think we can't lose sight of the fact that we're in day 5.
Yes.
Day 5 of this conflict. And so, for us to, again, because we are in this world now where we have all this information at the flip of a switch, and we can scroll and see 100 different thoughts and ideas and people taking a stand and giving their opinions and all that. There's polling then that goes out. How do you feel about the conflict? Well, how are you supposed to know how to answer that? I think it was a Fox News poll that said, do you feel more safe or less safe now that we've bombed Iran? It's such a bad question. Well, no. How would anybody feel safe during a war? It's such a dumb question. And again, I feel like it's just the media's way of trying to incite.
That part I agree with you. I think that the media thrives on fear and anger. It is a stupid question, but it is a question of the time. The news media wants us to be afraid, and they want us to be angry.
Yeah.
That's how they make their money, right? And the interesting part is, having listened to this Diary of the CEO with this ex-CIA person, it almost seems like we should always be afraid, which I think was kind of disconcerting. Living in New York City, I've experienced a lot of things that most people don't. I was there September 11th. I've been there, blackouts. I've been it's not contrary to, I think, what probably Fox News airs, it's not a very dangerous city considering the behemoth of a city that it is. But it's not like anything else in the United States, of course. But I think, are we more safe or less safe? That's a state of mind.
I mean, anytime there's a war, you should feel unsafe, no matter where it is. So I just don't think.
How many times I'm assuming our government just daily deflects different shootings and conflicts and all day long, every day, I would imagine, that we will never know about.
And if you were in Mexico 2 weeks ago, just having a vacation in Puerto Vallarta, sitting on a beach, and all of a sudden you're like, and it's not safe to be here either. I mean, how do you know?
I mean, here's the thing, Jolene, when do we know it's over? When do we know? Mm-hmm. And whose barometer are we following? We are in this this very dangerous, complicated, and fragile situation. How do we work together to figure out how to create a new Middle East? If we are going to be arbiters of freedom, if that's what really America is about, then how do we model this for the Middle East?
The Middle East has to choose this for themselves. I mean, we've given the help, the support militarily to maybe take the big piece off of the table by taking out the military and taking out the nuclear proliferation. But as far as the people, they've got to have an uprising, and they've got to do it themselves, and they got to figure it out.
I mean, they've had an uprising, and they were slaughtered.
Right, but now we've taken that piece out. Hopefully, maybe.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't really know. Not yet. I mean, obviously, this is fresh. Listen, listener and viewer, I hope that you can give us some grace, because this is a lot. And I would imagine that it's a lot for all of you. And I think the thing that takeaway is that it's really important that we don't jump to conclusions on this, and that we just have to keep asking questions and keep trying to understand, because this is a culture that's very different than ours. And I think it's important to, as Benjamin Raab said, stay curious. Don't jump to conclusions. This is new territory for everyone, I think.
We've got an opportunity, so let's foster it and see if something better can come to fruition.
I think that would be the hope for Democrats, Republicans, and everyone in between.
Yep.
I can't see anyone that wouldn't want that.
Right.
Do you have a would you rather, my dear?
I do.
Okay.
You go first.
Okay. Mine is totally unfair.
Okay.
I'm just prefacing it because I felt, as I was writing it, I was trying to find something funny. I'm like, I can't do funny right now.
I know.
And I was like, this is not fair. Would you rather have this war end tomorrow and Iran be more fanatical than ever, or have this conflict go on for a year with tens of thousands of casualties, and Iran have a true democracy that changes the landscape of the Middle East for the next 100 years?
As in the words of my father, don't sacrifice the long term for the short term. You got to go with, nobody wants this to drag on for a year, and no one wants the casualties, and no one wants that. But if you knew in the end that that was the outcome, and for generations to be able to live happily ever after, obviously that's what you'd choose. I think the fact that we felt like we needed to act right now because a nuclear Iran could decimate humanity as we know it. I mean, that would be obviously devastating. Duh. I mean, it's a bad answer, but it's the best answer.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't come up with one that was Iran related, but I wanted to stay on topic for in terms of being relevant to today.
Okay.
So here's yours.
Okay.
Would you rather ride on Kristi Noem's $70 million airplane or go on a double date with her and Corey Lewandowski?
The fact that I actually understand everything about this question, first of all, listener and viewer, if you don't know, Kristi Noem, who has now been fired as of today, in her hearing, they were grilling her about this luxury jet that she bought that had to use for United States purposes, with a huge luxurious...
To deport people.
Yes, but with a huge, lovely bed inside of it.
It was a $70 million airplane that she said she was going to retrofit to deport people. Retrofit.
Yes.
To seats.
Yes.
So she took a $70 million airplane to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And as someone said, that's like taking a Rolls Royce and retrofitting it into a Metro bus. Okay.
That's right. And then Daniel Lubanoski, is that you pronounce his name?
No, Corey Lewandowski.
Oh, sorry. What did I say?
I don't know. Okay. Maybe that's his cousin or something.
That she supposedly had an affair with this guy, but he was he's like...
So his claim to fame, Corey Lewandowski, he's a big Trumper, and in Trump's first term, he was an advisor and was so outspoken, and really he was always on CNN, and he was just he's a little fireball, and he's something else.
And he's sleeping with Kristi Noem, and she gave him a contract or something, right?
Well, no, he's a subordinate. He works for her. And so the question was, are you having a sexual relationship? They're both married to other people, and both of their spouses are back in their home towns.
Right.
But both Lewandowski and Noem are in DC. And even I think that we saw this on Mo News, even people within the Trump administration and people that work with them were uncomfortable around them because they were so over the top over each other. And so she was asked in the hearing yesterday, are you having a sexual relationship? And she wouldn't answer the question with her husband sitting right back here. Well, no, I don't think that you would want to answer that question. How embarrassing. But the fact that she wouldn't even answer it, she wouldn't even say no. Well, she was under oath. So, I mean, anyway.
So the question...
Bye-bye, Christy.
The question was double date with them, or what was the first one about a plane?
Or go on a plane ride in the $70 million plane.
I'm going on the $70 million plane because I've never been in a $70 million plane, and it sounds like it could be fun. You could come with me. We could have a party. Okay. Like, I don't want to go on a double date with those creepy people. No.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun?
Being on a double date with them? No.
Yes.
Being on the plane with them.
You just want to...
Listen.
Let's go and have drinks with them and just ask them stuff. We wouldn't care.
Peace out, Christy Noem. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Christy Noem. See ya.
You look so cute, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. We've been a year doing this podcast. I am astounded at the corruption, at the quality of human beings that are in the government. Number one.
Oh, but it's this way in every government.
And I'm astounded, Jolene, that here we are pretty much at war with Iran. Who knew that a year ago when I said, hey, let's do a podcast, that this is where we'd be?
We have got a lot of things to talk about. Our next episode.
Oh, God.
Epstein Files. Here we go, baby.
Here we go. Yeah.
Thank you, listener and viewer, for sticking with us. And if you like our content and if you like what we're trying to do here, please share this with other people so that we can help build our community. Please like this, share this, and comment. We'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to hear your comments on Iran. If you have experience in living in the Middle East and you want to share some of your thoughts with us, we'd love to hear it as well. So thank you for listening. Please listen again next time.
Please take care of yourselves. And again, read, listen, ask questions, understand that all of these things are incredibly complicated and that we don't have the answers. Thank you, Jolene.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We've Got to Talk is produced across the world by the wildly talented, creative, and hilarious team at Bambi Media. Our theme song is Jump Jive Swing by Space Train Unlimited. Thank you so much for listening, and join us every week for another episode of We've Got to Talk.